All right, so Apple just announced with their iPhone 14 that they added SOS messaging through satellite. Now, there's a few problems with that, but overall, it's a great addition. And if you're thinking about upgrading, that might be a feature in itself that makes it worth the upgrade. But let me talk about some of the shortcomings that this arguably is going to have from what the specs are saying currently. First, you're not going to be able to just send SOS satellite messages from phone to phone. It's going to go to a centralized emergency response center, and then they can figure out where to route help to you based on your GPS location. So, one of the problems with that is you can't use it unless it's an emergency. And there's a solution. There's two solutions actually. So, one is if you have a T-Mobile plan, T-Mobile's announced that they're going to team up with SpaceX Starlink to give you satellite coverage for at least text messaging, possibly voice calls as well. Now, I have a Starlink and it's fantastic because it's low Earth orbit. The latency is a fraction of what the Viasat and HughesNet satellites are, which you cannot use for voice, you cannot use for messaging. The latency is just too long. I mean, you could use it for messaging, I suppose, but you can't use it for any kind of voice calls or voice over Wi-Fi. Now, with the T-Mobile suggestion that they just hinted at, it hasn't been approved by the FCC yet, but if it does go according to plan, what Elon Musk is suggesting that they can offer with T-Mobile, you should be able to not just text your friends when you have no cell coverage, you should also be able to make phone calls, maybe not initially, but eventually. Now, there's a third option, and that is a Garmin InReach. So the Garmin InReach is something that I've been carrying and I love it. And it allows me to not just track my location as well as the location of my family, so my wife when we go backpacking or biking, where it's 30 miles away from cell signal and a lot further from emergency services. But it allows you to send regular messages through the device itself or through your phone if you connect it to Bluetooth, which is very simple through the app. So you can use your phone to send the text messages and receive text messages, as well as locations of your family. So there's a thing called a PACE plan. And a PACE plan stands for Primary Alternate Contingency Emergency. And with the iPhone 4 or with a phone that is connected to the T-Mobile network, once they roll out SpaceX satellite coverage, now you've added a few layers to your PACE plan. Now you can actually have backup communications on your same phone. So if you have T-Mobile first, then you probably could communicate with your family members directly. But if you don't and you just have the iPhone, such as on like an AT&T network, then that's still part of your emergency communications when cell signal is unavailable because it's overloaded, you're out of the range, the cell towers are degraded. All these things could happen during an emergency. So now you have your iPhone as your backup. So your phone should probably be your primary. That's the P in the PACE plan. Your alternate could be your phone, but not using cellular, using satellite. And then your contingency could be perhaps each one of your family members or whoever you want to buy these for has one of these Garmin InReach minis. Then your emergency might be a ham radio, which you should have a license if you're going to broadcast, but you don't need a license to listen, and you probably won't need a license during a real crisis, a real emergency with FCC. They're not going to be enforcing license requirements. Now, the problem with the Garmin InReach Mini is that it does require a subscription. It's like $12 to $15 a month, but it does give you a number of text messages that you can use. And this also is great for using it to send and receive other data packets. You can receive emails. It gives you another backup. And you're going to find yourself using this if you travel, if you go camping, and just as an emergency backup if you like to go mountain biking or gravel biking and it's miles away from help. And better yet, you have the SOS button on the front. So similar to that iPhone that's going to have SOS satellite, you also have this as redundancy. So anything that's important, you should have at least 3 of in different formats. So you have redundancy with the cell phone, with the iPhone that has that SOS connectivity. And it's going to be rolled out in November, they're saying. You're going to get 2 years of free service for the iPhone SOS satellite. And then after that, we'll see what it costs. it's probably not going to be cheap. They're going to get people comfortable with having that feature, and then they're not going to want to lose it. Maybe it'll be an incentive for them to buy an iPhone 15 or 16 with another 2 years. But I wanted to just cover some of the weaknesses that people might be thinking about with this iPhone 14 with the satellite SOS. It's a great feature to have, certainly better than not having it, but it's not perfect, and it probably overall isn't as good as one of these if you have this with you and you have an active subscription. If you can get a Starlink for your house, that's even better, because now you can do regular communications when there's no cell signal, there's no power, there's just an overloaded cell network. It's great to have this redundancy. And with the Starlink, you don't have to pay for it each month. You can put it on that portability mode where you just buy it, keep it in the box, put it on a suspended account, and then when you need to unbox it, you activate it and start using it. So these are things that you want to start thinking about now. You want to start doing the research, and then if you want, make the purchase now, because when it becomes time to use it, when it becomes an actual crisis, you're going to be competing against everybody else who also procrastinated for a far smaller amount of the resource, combined with a far greater demand for it. And you know what happens when that happens. All right, hope this helps. Talk to you later.